Well, what's coming up for me, Swamini, is that in the States, if someone were to feel disenchanted and questioning their pursuit, they often might end up in a therapist's office instead of in a spiritual pursuit. Um, I guess I'm wondering, is there a role in seeking psychotherapy or in this pursuit at all?
Definitely. Definitely, there is a role. Because if you're talking about non duality, the duality starts right here in
Hmm.
the heart, in the mind, in what in we call antahkarana, the inner instrument. That is where the duality starts. That's where the conflict is between the doer and the knower, between the one who wants to do certain things and the one who knows better, between the one who wants to do the right thing and the other one who thrives on doing the wrong thing. And so there are many, many conflicts. So the battle of Kurukshetra, described in the Bhagavad Gita, is right here, right now, in raging in one's heart. That is why the message of the Bhagavad Gita is extremely timeless. And if we notice the Bhagavad Gita, first Arjuna has a counseling session from the Lord. Only then the teaching begins. Only then the teaching works. Because
Oh.
first he is in a state of panic.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
described he has the first panic attack in history. First documented panic. Gandivam samsrate hastat. The Gandiva, the bow. I mean, he's such a warrior. He's a
Right.
stalwart. He's an exalted warrior. Here he finds his hands are perspiring, and the bow called Gandiva, his personal bow, is slipping from his hand. And then he suddenly feels feverish. Tvakcha paridahyate, he says. And then he says, I can't restrain my mind. Na shaknomi avasthatum. Why? Brahmati iva me manaha. My mind is roaming all over the place. And then I have become suddenly very superstitious. I see bad omens every day, everywhere. Here a crow, there a black cat, and so many things I'm seeing. And I'm not able to do this. And then I feel dejected. He says this. I feel
Right.
disenchanted. I don't see any good coming out of this war.
Hmm.
And so the first chapter is talk therapy. Okay. And so Arjuna has talk therapy for the first chapter because Lord Krishna is a wonderful listener. He just sits and listens. He doesn't butt in. He doesn't say, "Oh, how can you think like this? You're a warrior." Nothing. Or don't feel so sad. There is a way. Nothing at all. He just sits and listens. And then the therapy takes on a slightly different tack at the beginning of the next chapter. Because at some point, talk therapy has to, after this talk therapy, after certain catharsis has been achieved, some work has to be done, some inner
Yeah.
work has to be done. And so here in the beginning of the second chapter, we see Arjuna getting a pep talk.
Hmm.
And Arjuna is pulled up and asked to stop behaving like a victim, take the reins of his life in his hands, understand the fact that he's a warrior, and accept the situation right now that they are in the middle of a war and he cannot defect. And his defection is not because of of some illusion that he is a pacifist. He is not a pacifist. He was
Hmm.
in fact
Hmm.
extremely bloodthirsty for all the 12
Right.
years that they lived in the forest. So now he suddenly didn't become a pacifist, but he started to look for a way out because, as you know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And here, Lord Krishna makes him sit and look at his situation by talking philosophy. And first, he peps him up and asks him to throw away the victimhood, and then
Hmm.
only the teaching starts. So yes, that itself is a very big clue that one has to do some inner work, either with a therapist or by oneself, doesn't matter how. So Vedanta is not opposed to therapy at all. Even in the Upanishad, in the Kena Upanishad, there is a student who says, please teach me the Upanishad after the Upanishad has been entirely taught. And then the teacher gives him some visualizations and some kind of therapeutic tools to then engage back to the teaching. Because the teaching is for, the teaching has some prerequisites. Just like every knowledge has some prerequisites, you can't suddenly join a medical college without knowledge of anatomy. Anatomy and physiology, basic, one has to have certain credits. And so here also, you can't just suddenly go for understanding I'm the only thing in the whole world and I'm non-separate from God. Even though it might feel odd, I'm non-separate from God. You can't suddenly go there without really reckoning the pains and sorrows that are there right now. So therapy comes in many forms. And in the olden days in India, we did not need it because there was still a strong kinship network. And so the child who was scolded by the mother immediately would go and sit on the grandmother's lap. Immediately, right there. Okay. And then the grandmother means the husband's mother. Okay. Not her mother. And the child would complain that, oh, mommy did this, mom did this. And then the grandmother would say, even before you were born, she was like this. And there is no hope for her to change. This was instant therapy because the child may not understand all the family feuds and all, but the child understood, okay, grandma is on my side. It needs validation. So it got that instant validation. And now all the elders are in senior homes and the children are in daycare and all the labs have laptop on them.
Right.
Yeah.
So that security as a child is not there.
And insecurity, for that insecurity, there is no instant therapy. Mother, grandmother, grandfather, uncles, aunts, cousins, this is all a very healthy way to grow up for the child. And nowadays it's not there. Everybody is in a nuclear family, and I don't know what is new about it, and nor am I clear about it, what this is. So therefore, therapy becomes important. Because there's no other, that the organic mechanisms through which one understood this are gone.
The mechanisms by which we get
by which the child would
validation.
be validated, yes. And the other things, you see, we are a very musical culture, and so the child would be asked to chant the shlokas and taught the shlokas and sing and everything. That itself is a form of therapy. Now that is not there so much, unless one goes to Bal Vihar or some kind of Sunday school, things like that. It is not there. That is not there. Another way of overcoming this was they're putting these elaborate designs in front of the house called rangoli with rice flour and colors, and that can take hours, especially on festival days. That itself is kind of a meditation, and the family would do it together. The mother, daughter, and children and all would do it together. That was a form of therapy. Yoga is a form of therapy. Anything that gives certain validation and self-love is a form of therapy.